Hello, venture capitalist. My name is Dhaval, and today our team is going to present the beta version of our software, which is a human resource management system. As the name suggests, the system helps in automating some of the daily activities that happen in an office. For the purposes of the demonstration, we want you to assume there is a typical business scenario where a manager is interacting with an employee and all the tasks that they carry out in a day. So, first and foremost, we have the login page set up here already. When the website is loaded, we will begin with logging as an employee and not a manager to see which screen that we come to. I have my employee ID here that I'm going to put in. I'm going to put my password. Oh, that's not correct. It will verify me first, and yeah, and I'm in. So once the user logs in, he can see a fairly easy to follow dashboard with all the options to his left, and the additional component will be mounted once they select an option. We have a logout button here that just takes them back to the login page. We have now a clock in button, which they would be using every day to log in their hours. This button can only be used once. Once they click it, they are logged in for that day. They get a timestamp here of the time that they logged in, and they can only log out from here on. And we'll get into the technicality of that later on. First, we would like to see how the dashboard works. So when I click on check time records, I want to see a record. It's 18th, and I can see here I worked for 8 hours that day. Pretty basic. We just do a get time clock request from the API. Next up, we have the update personal info, where the user's information is mounted already here from the get employee API. And they can just start editing whichever fields that they want. Of course, they cannot change their salary or their designation, right? And but everything else can be updated, and they just hit the update button and it all gets updated dynamically. Next up, we have request leave, which will also be discussed later on by my team members. I would specifically like to explain how the payslip works. So get payslip button brings them to a component where they can check their payslips for different pay periods. Now, once the component is mounted, they first have a drop down here. This drop down is filled with all the pay periods available for that employee, meaning this employee has worked for only these 3 pay periods. Now, this drop down is also filled from an API. So once the component is mounted, we get all the time clocks of the corresponding employee, filter it by their pay periods, and store all the periods in an array. That array is then pushed to the pay periods drop down list, which we see here. Now, let's say I want to see the first pay period of March 2023. The 1 March 2023 means the first period, which is 1st March to 15th March. And when I click here, I see that I've worked for a total of 22.5 hours. in that pay period. I do see my salary here, which is 27.8 in this case, and all the other fields are calculated through the API and displayed it to us here with all the deductions and my final take home pay. And that's about it for this part. My teammates will now be going ahead first to explain how the time clock works, and then finally we will end with the leave records. Thank you.
Hey, hi Venture Capitalist. Today I'm gonna tell you how our application works, and I'm gonna work on two modules. One is the time clock one, and another one is the module in which a person can update the employee information and can add a new employee to our database. So right now I would be logging in as an associate. So so this is logged in as an associate. Let me first clock in. Now first I clocked in, now I'm doing the clock out. Okay, so this part is already explained by my friend, but I need this part to be done to sync with my upcoming part. Okay, so once I log out, now I'm on the login landing screen. Let me for now log in as an manager. Okay, so this is my manager dashboard. It gives us an option to see the time clock of an associate. So here, this is the employee ID of the manager, and I have to change it to the employee ID of the associated. That I need to do manually, and I need to add today's day. Now these two are the parameters which would be sent to the backend API to fetch the record. So see, we fetch the record, and this is the clock in time and clock out time of the employee. Total hours are calculated in hours, so that's why it's 0, because I think I just clocked in and clock out in less than 6 seconds, so that's why it's showing me. Now there are other options too. One option is to update the time record. Here I also need to have the information about the employee ID and the day. So it's 14. Now I have to put the time in option, which is suppose 1 p.m. and he clocked out at 5 p.m. Okay, so update record. Now it's been updated. The update API, which is the put API, is being called to update this time record. Now let me just check it. Okay, so if I will just change it to employee 1 and 14th and check record, see it's changed. Now the total hours worked are 4. Now going to another functionality, which is the delete time record functionality. Here also I need to put the employee ID of the employee and the date. Both these parameters will be used to send the information to the delete API, which is in the time clock controller of my backend. Okay, now delete record successfully. Now if I will go and see check record, change it to the employee ID of the associate and put the date and check record, see no record exists because the record got deleted. Now let's move on to another option, which is adding an employee. I can add an employee since I am logged in as a manager. So let me just put some mock data here. Let it be uh, A, B, C, D. last name DEFG, address let it be anything like 13456, A, Surrey, BC. Let's put the date of birth of the employee as January 2016. Okay, the phone number be 778 346 2341. Email address def@gmail.com. Then we have designation as an associate. Then the salary, it is 17, wage rate $17 per hour. Then the SIN should be 12345. Bank account could be 56453. Now register. See, the new employee has been added, and this is the employee ID of the new employee. Once I will click OK. Now if I will just go to update employee info, so right now this is the employee ID of the manager. So the manager can only update his personal information but can't employ this, change the hourly rate and the designation of himself. Now if I will just change it to associate one, so see, the associate information is getting fetched. Now let it be the new one. So for the new one also the information is getting fetched. This is basically the get API which is getting called and getting the information from the employee table of the database. Now if I will just change it to EDHG, okay, or KG, something like that, okay. Now if I'll just say update, the record has been updated successfully. How to verify it? Let's see. uh 2, okay, so different record, and when I put 3, so this record, okay. Now to double check it, let's go to localhost dash h2 console, hit it, go to employee, run, and see this thing. This is the latest one which is coming. So and the update leave record and the leave record part, that would be told by the other team member. Thank you and have a nice day.
Hello, my name is Davidson Ramos, and I will be explaining the leave records section of our human resource management system. Right, so here we are logged in as an employee, specifically an employee named Vin Diesel. So here when we click the view leave records, we can see the leave records that this employee has. Currently, there are no leave records for this employee. So let's request a leave. When clicking request a leave, it shows a form that the user can fill out to provide the necessary information for requesting a leave. So clicking here, we can select a date, let's say Monday, April 17th. Leave reason, I am going on a short trip. And type of leave, we can either say half day or full day, and I'm gonna say full day. And we submit. Successfully requested a leave. So here, this uses an API that posts a leave record to the database. Now when we click view leave records, we can see the leave record. This part uses an API that gets all the leave records based on the employee's ID. Right, now let's log out and see this through the manager's end. So I'm going to log in as a manager and see here, update leave records. So when clicking this, it calls an API that gets all the records in the database. So as you can see, there are 2 records here from John Doe and the one that we created from Vin Diesel. So let's check out these leave records. Sick leave, I'm going to approve. And see, it changes the value to approved. And this one, I want to have a day off to watch a match. Sure, let's approve that. And for Vin Diesel, unfortunately, let's decline. So it's declined. So this part uses an API that essentially just updates the status value in the specific leave record. Alright, now let's check it out from Vin Diesel's end. And when we view leave records, yes, it says declined over here. Unfortunately, Vin Diesel won't be able to go on a short trip. Alright, and that concludes our presentation of our human resources management system. Moving forward with the second iteration of our application, we hope to make additions based on the functions we initially stated in the original proposal. First, having managers be able to generate and edit a performance evaluation report for an employee, where the manager can also nominate a team member for the Employee of the Month award and send a message to the team. Second, we would like to implement expense voucher reimbursements, where an employee can upload receipts of their payments and send them to a manager for approval. And lastly, we plan to add some sort of communications channel within our app, so we can eliminate the use and need for third-party communications apps. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.